Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. My name is David East. I work on Firebase, and this is one of my good Firebaser friends in general. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Jeff. I work on Firebase with David. I wrote a lot of React Fire, and we work on it together, so I think we're going to show it off today a bit.
That's I wrote a lot of React Fire is a bit of an understatement. He wrote a lot of React Fire. What we wanted to plan for today, but we didn't have time to do, is we wanted to go over Suspense in depth because I don't know about you all, but I always have to relearn Suspense every time I use it. Like he's laughing because I will message him every time and be like, "Hey Jeff, how does Suspense work again?" And then he explains it to me patiently and kindly. And then I go and I get it working. And then the next week it's the same game. So I'm trying to avoid that. So next React live stream, I think I'm going to have Jeff really explain Suspense in depth for us. So, but leave it in the comments or we're here for the chat. That's the whole reason why we're here, is just to chat with everybody. I'm bored, need something to do. And so leave it in the chat. Do you have trouble with Suspense? Do you have to relearn Suspense, or are you like Jeff and you just like clicked in your head?
It definitely didn't click for me, but I read the docs a lot. So
I do. I read the docs a lot. I should just like hotkey it. So today I'm going to get the screen going. Whoop. Today we are getting Luke Edwards. Good to see you, Luke. Has trouble with suspenders. That can make sense. I don't think
suspenders back.
If I tried to put on suspenders, I'm pretty sure I'd be like, suspenders, that sounds easy, and then I would be like, Luke, this is hard. Anyways. You came here for React, right? Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, hey, Mike and Eli. Eli, you are always. I feel like I can always count on you, Eli, for joining these streams. Eli, I think, has been to like 90% of them. And then Mike of React Firebase native or React Native Firebase fame is here. Very always good to see you, Mike. All right, so my goal is to make sure I start writing code before we're 5 minutes in. All right, so today is a great day, and we have this. Let's see here. We're in code sandbox, and my code isn't loading. I thought for some reason that was weird. Let me just do a refresh of that. Yes, reload. And we are going to pick up where we left off with this voting app. And the goal today is that we want to take it from its current state where we can click on an option and things load, and we want to move it to, and the votes happen. Do we want it so if you click on one and you're not authenticated, we ask you to be authenticated. There we go. All right. I was about to be like, great, code sandbox was not working. All right. So and I'll demo that here in a second. Let's see here. All right. This looks good. No, that one doesn't. It's probably because it's not being used. The code sandbox has really aggressive ESLinting on. It's very aggressive, which is probably good if you're really building things. Which, we're not. I hit that notifications. Thank you, Eli. Anyone outside of framework devs using Suspense since it's not GA yet? Yeah, that's actually a great question. You should all talk about that because we would love to hear about that.
Yeah, we'd like to know too. We have like a disclaimer on the React Fire page saying maybe don't use this in production yet because it uses experimental React builds, but yeah, curious to hear if anyone's actually using Suspense in production.
Yeah. I wonder if, I'm going to drop this in the comments. I wonder if people can vote on this. Ooh.
With our voting app?
Oh, Jeff. Let's see here. All right. Can you all vote? Oh no, we're 452. Well, I deleted a line of code. That counts. All right. So I don't know why there's these purple highlights. That happened weird when I put it into Code Sandbox, but I'm just.
Oh, I did that.
Oh, you did that. I was like, what happened? I was like, I didn't do that. I don't mind it. I just was like, so we click Rocky Road, and then we have our selected Rocky Road, 186 votes, and all this. It's a pretty tight race between Rocky Road Vanilla and Chocolate, Strawberry, Dark Horse. Oh, we got people voting. That is so awesome. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to make it so you have to log in. So all you people who are just voting, you're going to have to log in. So to make this simple, let's investigate it. I have these components. We're not using Next.js, but I still really like to do the components and pages model. What about you, Jeff? Is that I realize I'm just totally steamrolling through this. What about you? Do you like pages and components?
I think that's usually where I end up too. I'm not super organized with these. I usually start in one giant file and slowly break it up as I go.
Yes, I find that I see people on Twitter sometimes saying pages and components is not the best way to organize. There's this, and that. And then I just haven't felt that pain yet. I have an Angular apps because I've worked on very large Angular apps before. And I would not probably do pages and components for an Angular app. So I could probably maybe transfer that mindset over. All right, so what this does is this is a sign-in modal that is used off of a modal, so we can have more than one type of modal. And it has this closed state and an open state. And then we have this ternary that says if it's open, use the open state. If not, use the closed state. And then we have the parent div, which has all of these tailwind classes that makes it have absolute positioning with full, height full, top 0, left 0, overflow, auto, all this stuff that just makes it snap to the screen. I think that maybe you would not have gotten that, idea if I didn't go zoom. I think the zoom really clicks
Definitely.
in. Yeah, that's what I like to think. And then we have this child component, which is where your is the parent of your children. And then what we do here is, so this is the mask, and then this is the actual parent container. And then we have these clicks to stop propagation. So weird things don't happen. And so when you do click out, it can cancel the modal. So there you go. This is how this works. Tailwind makes this really easy. React makes this really easy. I remember back in the day trying to write a modal, and it was like pain and tears. So that was surprisingly simple. So, and here we have this, Jeff, you have to tell us the vote prompt is, because you added this in when we planned for it last week or maybe 10 minutes ago. So what is this one?
That was something I snuck in so we could maybe show off React Fire and remote config, but we could take that out for now.
I don't know, we can leave it in there. I think it's cool. It's suspended for me, so that's nice. All right, cool. So let's go and we'll get into that later. So this just allows us to sign in as guests. So let's add that into our vote view. I feel like I need to go back and look at the comments. I don't like to get too far away from the comments. Oh, Jeff Cross is in here. What's up, Jeff? I'm still going to take you up on that Angular Fire debugging session. I've seen a number of. Oh wow, Luke says he sees it for routing. That makes sense for routing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point because React.lazy is not experimental, so it makes sense to use that.
That one's good. We mostly mean Suspense for data fetching. So if anyone is using Suspense for data fetching, not in just just for fun way, then let us know because we are very interested in that. So let's go now into, and Jeff will be doing some coding here in a little bit, but I told him I would start. All right, so vote view. So how many minutes are we in now? We're 9 minutes in, and I'm going to finally do some serious. All right, so we're going to use the sign-in modal. And so sign-in modal, I wonder if it's going to auto-import it for me. It will not. Oh, it's sad. So yeah, sign-in modal. Does anyone know how to get Code Sandbox to only refresh when I save? Because I would love that.
I'm not sure.
And it's open, and let's just say true for now. And I think this might error out, but let's see. All right, so there's a little wonky in the thing. I'm gonna blame your vote prompt.
Yeah, I'll take that out.
CSS, folks. And so, if it's false, it'll be false. If not, and then I think the other property it has, can I control click in? Yes, I can, is set modal open. All right, well, look at that live. That's so cool. And then there's on button click. Let's see. All right. So what I want to do is create a set modal open is like a like a hook kind of like, or like the second option you get back from a hook. You can kind of think about it that way. And so we go into vote view, and then what we want to do is use a little bit of state. So if we go up here, we'll just do it at the bottom. Say const and react.use state. We'll start with a false state, and then we can say is modal open, and then set modal open. And those nicely fit right into here. So is open is modal open, and set modal open is set modal open. And then let's break these out. So the idea here is we're going to allow it to be able to open and close. And then we'll have on button click, and we'll just set that to a callback function right now. The alert.
Ooh, alert's nice.
Alternative. This is getting crazy. Logging in. All right. So now if I save this, wait for it to transpile all the modules. Did anyone play The Sims growing up?
I didn't really.
Okay. Oh, Luke Edwards.
But I watched the 100 Baby Challenge on YouTube recently. Have you heard of that?
I have not heard about that.
You have to make your sim have 100 babies before they die. And yeah, it's like a multi-week series thing from BuzzFeed.
Oh.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, I learned a lot about The Sims because I never played it before.
Right. I keep trying to figure out. Jeff cross-played SimCity. SimCity is good.
Okay, there we go.
Maybe they all did it, but you know how like when the loading screen would happen for all the old Sims games, it would be like reticulating splines, and they'd have all these like jargon nonsense. I always think that transpiling modules is one of those jargon nonsensical words that like a normal person would see that and be like, what does that even mean? Let's see, preferences, preview tab, turn off. I feel like I'm really close. Instant preview. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you, Luke. Thank you, Luke. All right. Now this won't yell at me every single time I want to do something. So now what I want to do is if you are not logged in, so I'm just voting this time. Someone's got to vote for strawberry. But when I click on this, I don't want this to be able to be voted on. I want this to, if you click on it, I want it to be the modal screen. And that's what set modal open will allow me to do, or setting is modal open. So what I'm going to do in here is on click. Let's get rid of that. And so on click, this is this vote option list. This is not this current page because we've voted. That's the vote result list right up here in this ternary. So this vote option list, which is the pre one, when you click on that, we have this on click that decides, what happens here. And what I'm going to do here is just kind of hard code it for now. And we're going to say actually just say const user equals false. I don't know what to do. Oh, well, we'll figure that out. So it's a if not user set modal open. I think that would be one true. All right, saving.
And probably return also, right?
Version, turn off the first and third mod. I think I did do something. My brain never thinks properly when I'm live coding. I'm just like, oh, I see, instant preview. Oh, first and third. Right.
Yeah. Oh, leave the second one on, I think. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
All right. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you, Luke. All right. So now if I click one of these, yeah, it voted though because I didn't return because I'm a bad person. All right. So now if I save, oh, this is the DX I came for. See, transpiling modules. All right, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to click Rocky Road and it shouldn't vote. All right, great. And so now what I want to do is be able to say sign in as guest. So if I click it, what's going on? I'm like out of the, there we go. All right, I just was out of the viewport, I think, because it's in that deep iframe. All right, so I don't want to talk about these. I already did those. So what I'm going to do in here now is this sets the modal open, and then it allows us to go down here and log in. And the way that we want to log in is we want to use Firebase Authentication. And so we have Firebase app, and there's a couple ways we could actually import from Firebase/auth, but I want to let React Fire take over here. So Jeff, while I write this, you want to tell the folks how React Fire loads Firebase modules.
All right, sure. So in a previous episode of David's React Live stuff, he set up a Firebase app context provider, and that lets React Fire grab the current Firebase app from context. When you call something like UseUser, React Fire will check to see if the Firebase app has the auth object on it. And if it doesn't, it will automatically lazy load it in. And that way, when you call UseUser, we'll suspend while we pull in the auth SDK, and also while we wait for the current user state. And then the component will only render when we have a user. And we can rely on Suspense for all that, to handle all the loading state for us while all that happens in the background.
Well said. All right, so now what I'm doing though is I'm using UseUser, which will pull in Firebase auth in the background for me. And UseUser does use Suspense for data fetching, which is pretty cool because if this wasn't Suspense for data fetching, you would have something like this. It would be like user, set user, and maybe even like a third one would be like is loading or something like that. And then you would have to, this would be undefined at first because this is an asynchronous call. So this would be undefined. This would tell you the state and this would update the state. But you'd basically have to use these two ones or check if user. So Suspense for data fetching allows us, and set user is not a thing here, nor is it in the bracket. We can asynchronously get the user back. And that's really cool. So it suspends the user. So now it's gonna, I don't think I saved, but we'll see here. So now I have, so this should still work because I'm not logged in at all. So if I go in here and click, oh, I know that did work. What is use? Oh, I know what's going on. I am actually logged in from my previous attempts with this. So I'm going to log myself out. So Firebase.auth. So Firebase auth is a good time to talk about this. So Firebase auth is loaded from me just calling UseUser, and I can call sign in anonymously, which is going to be the one I pick. But I also can sign out, and let's do it. Then return the promise, and then I can say console.log. You are signed out. Okay, save it. Comments are kind of light. I need, what's everybody doing today? See, I'm on we're both on a 15-second latency, so we need to know, we need like the comments rolling, so we're not just asking you for something and then waiting 15 seconds for a response. Was anyone at my tea time yesterday? Because doing a tea time today with Justin Fagnani. All right. So
what kind of tea will you be drinking, or is that a surprise?
I can't tell so there's one rule of tea time. You can't talk about what tea you're drinking. Actually, you can talk about what tea you're drinking, but you can't tell anyone what kind of tea you're drinking, and everyone has to guess.
All right. And maybe the comments can tell us tea versus coffee.
Tea versus coffee. That's a good one. I would probably still go with coffee, even though I now host a show called Tea Time. All right, let's get into the viewport. Why is it? Oh, it's because I'm not returning. Wait, but it should be, it's because I'm still logged in. All right, why didn't it do that? All right, let's see here. Let me just comment out some of these. And let me console.log the user. All right, is it still going to let me? Yeah, just a lint error.
Do you actually have access to the Firebase object? I guess so, through like the magic of the Firebase SDK, right?
Through the magic of the Firebase SDK. I should probably use app. Oh, that's a great point. Okay, cool. Oh, there's a problem. Oh yeah, that's not a real problem. All right. You are signed out. Okay, that's good. Oh yeah, I wrote you are signed out. Wow, I forgot I did that. All right, so I forget everything while I live stream. Can you use React Fire with Next.js? Yes, you can. Next.js is makes things easy.
Yeah, I think the thing we're not sure about is how server rendering and Suspense work together. It's something I haven't played with much.
Yes, on the client, you shouldn't have any problems, John. But on the server, since React Fire is heavily integrated in with Suspense for data fetching, while you can use it without. If you try to use it with, there be demons. So you probably have to do some crazy like server detection.
There actually is an open issue on the React Fire repo right now talking about it. So if you want to check it out and see if anyone's posted cool links there, take a look.
Eventually that will get worked out. But okay, so here we are. So if I do the set Modal Open true, as in vote option list. Oh, is that why? I was in the wrong callback. That's why I was so confused. All right, so now what I can do here, and I think Jeff brought up a good point. So another thing with these hooks is because of context, I can get the I can get the Firebase app from use Firebase app. I need to import that up here. It's from React Fire. And so now I have the Firebase app. And so that is the one, this is like probably an easier way of testing components too, because you won't have to worry about like the global Firebase that we're importing from Firebase up here for a couple static methods. But if you need to mock Firebase app, then using the hook is much easier than relying on the global. And so now from here, I can tap into auth, and then I can call sign in anonymously. And then this will return a user. And Jeff, actually, because I don't know the answer to this, let me collapse the window there. When I call sign in anonymously, does that come up to UseUser and trigger a sign-in event for that user, like populate it?
Yeah, UseUser should fire with the user.
So UseUser is a hook around, is it around on-auth state changed?
I believe so. It's a hook around the RxFire observable for off state. I think it's just called user. But yeah, I believe it's on-auth state changed under the hood.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was. So that works really well. It's a little nuts if you're trying to do social login, but you still make it work. All right, cool. So I don't even have to call. I can just ignore this. I'll just console out log for debugging purposes. But you
can also close the modal.
Oh yes. Oh, good thinking. You signed in anon, and then set modal open false. Save. All right, so now I should probably add like a spinner or something in there, but whatever. All right, so now I click that. It asks me to sign in as guest. I click that. And I am now signed in. We should probably pop up something that would be like you are signed in or something like that. But then I can vote for vanilla. So now let me share that link again to the, what is the, where do I find that? Share. I just want to share the regular link. Copies the code sandbox link. Yeah, okay. Oh no, but that's going to bring you to the thing. How do I get to the actual, I shared it earlier.
I think you can just copy the address in the preview bar, right?
Is it in the preview bar? Oh my gosh, you mean the one in front of my face? Yes, that one. All right. Let's get you all. Oh, Luke asked, wait, is there a problem with the server or the handoff into client hydration? Problem within the server. It's just, data Suspense for data fetching, not a thing yet on the server, or even probably a thing yet. But yeah, so people go in, see if you can log in, and if you can vote. So we are going to, while you do that though, we'll keep the show going. And I think I'm going to get it handed over to you now, Jeff, and you could show off the prompt that you were doing before.
All right.
All right. You are now promoted to the stream. Make sure you are up with my changes.
All right, I'll refresh. Cool. Great. So prompt is in remote config in the modal. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, as in the modal remote config.
So right now with the sign in modal, we just have this big button that says sign in as guest. What I was thinking we could do is have a heading in the modal that says why we want people to sign in. So something like sign in to vote or something like that. But I didn't know exactly what to put, so I thought we could make this a remote config property so that we can change things on the fly from the Firebase console, and then clients will update without us having to redeploy the app. And we can just mock something in for now.
Let's see what the, so chocolate is now winning. That's very important to know.
Looks like I have to do, David, do you know the tailwind class for dark text? Is it?
Oh, it's text. Oh, do you need like, just like black text or like? Yeah,
something dark, because I think we're white on white right now.
Oh, just do text dash, what is it? Yeah, text dash B, text dash black. Who here loves Tailwind CSS?
I do.
Here loves Tailwind. I've been thinking about doing a live stream just fully on Tailwind.
All right, let's see if I can quickly get the CSS to cooperate here. No. All right. I'm going to leave it janky, and maybe, David, you can come and fix it while I talk about it.
You work on the Firebase side. I'll go. We can live do this. I'll go. So this is in sign-in modal?
Yeah.
All right. This is pair programming right here.
All right, cool. So we have the sign to vote prompt, but right now it's hard-coded. So I'm going to go and create another component that will fetch a value from remote config instead and show that here. So we'll call it sign-in prompt. And the first thing we have to do is pull in remote config. ReactFire has a method called useRemoteConfig string that will both pull in the remote config library asynchronously and then also fetch whatever value you want. So let's do that.
Okay, it worked.
All right. And this is
why are you
called,
using a span?
No reason.
Okay, no, let's totally mess with semantics here. So we'll use a span, and then I'll use the block helper. And then now it's a block span, and then we could even give it, here's some Tailwind demo. I can give it a text 2XL, and so now it's basically a heading. And then we can say font bold, just to make sure it's really a good heading. Mike thinks Tailwind is great and he uses for all his web projects. Good choice, Mike. And then Luke also says he likes it much better with the post CSS approach. That's fine. We all like our CSS in different ways. Tailwind is awesome in the sense that it's the step before that.
All right. So now we've got this use remote config string. Another thing with remote config is that it needs some initialization before you can start doing reads. So I believe in app.js, we call preload firestore. I'm going to add a preload remote config here so that we can do our setup things also. Preload remote config takes an argument called setup, I believe. Setup. That's a function. It'll give us the remote config library once it's loaded, and then we can do stuff with it. So I think I might have to jump into the React source to remember exactly what the syntax is here.
For which one?
For remote config,
preload. Oh,
fetch and activate.
Yeah, you're going. Oh, it's right. You have to. Yeah, I'm like, who wrote that? Who wrote that feature of React?
I think David did.
It's like the one thing I did, and you're like, so it's not working correctly.
No, we got it. I just I need to find where we're doing that. So I'll open up on GitHub. This is the sample in the React Fire source. And here we do all kinds of preloads. So I think I'll just cheat and copy and paste the remote config preload. But what it does is it sets our fetch interval, and then it actually activates remote config. So I'll just copy that in to my function here. And hopefully that works. Code Sandbox is angry for some reason. Remote config is not defined. Remote config is not defined. All right, I've got an object with a key of setup. It points to a function, an arrow function, remote config.
This is when the stakes are high because you're like, I'm live. I have to figure this out. I'm surprised someone in the audience isn't like, oh, you forgot a semicolon on line 14. Let's see here. That looks.
There's another option. Setup. Let's see. So let's try this one more time.
So remote config is basically a key value store for Firebase that's on superpowers, and it allows you to just basically you'd set a key to a value, and so that value, that key value pair is known as a parameter. So it'd be like enable admin features true or something like that, which probably you would want to do some security around that. So it'd be like show flash sale, and then you can set a condition on that parameter where you can say, show this flash sale between this date start and this date end. And, that's any, it's granular down to the minute, I believe. And then, so you can start your sale and show this banner or whatever, whatever new slider. And so you can feature gate things out. I actually even wrote a little JavaScript library called remote styles where you can store parameters as just straight CSS, and then you can have conditions on those on that parameter, and then that will just load the CSS dynamically through constructible style sheets if those are available. And so it's like a really cool way to dynamically theme your site. Would not recommend doing it on page load, but it is cool for any after page load style control you may need.
All right, I think we just got into a weird code sandbox bug because I refreshed the page and it all works now.
I was to say, I was wondering if that was the case because on my screen it looked fine, but I just wanted to see you work a little. So.
That's right. I wanted to see me sweat. All right, so like I said, we pass in the setup function, we set some settings, and we activated remote config. If I go back to our sign-in modal, we have our sign-in prompt function, and if I console.log the prompt here, I think we should be good. Actually, I don't really even, I'll console.log it. And then here where we have our span, I'll copy this up here. Why not? Put our prompt in here instead. And then here, I'll wrap this in Suspense since this is going to wait until the remote config library is loaded and wait until we actually get the value from remote config. And I'll do a fallback of nothing, just so that we don't show anything while we're waiting for it to load. And then in here, I'll add our sign-in prompt component.
I always forget to add fallbacks for Suspense.
Yeah. Does it yell at you? I forget. I guess we could see.
I think it does. I think it does if you... Actually, I don't know. I thought it did. It yells at me. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it does. But cool. So I console.logged our prompt, and the prompt is sign in to vote. And so we get sign in to vote. Dave, I don't know if you have the Firebase console open and handy.
I'm gonna push a change, and I'm not gonna tell anybody what it is.
All right. Let's see if our fetch interval and stuff cooperates and lets us get a new value.
Everything on my computer, though, is running a tad slow because after streaming, my fan is like, I feel like I'm going to burn a hole in the... Let's see here. And so the key name is sign in prompt.
Yep.
All right. It's loading. All right, so sign in underscore prompt. Just want to make sure, because this is not an existing key, right?
It is. I added it to our remote config in the project.
Oh, because it is not showing up for me.
Interesting.
Here. Let's just see what happens here. Let's see here. I need to do a reload. Yeah, my computer is just like freezing up from all the heat.
Maybe I can edit real quick.
But yeah, so the whole thing here is I'm trying to change this thing in the console, but that's why this is a beautiful time. My Google account just decided that it was time to do a re-sign in.
All right. Well, I jumped into the console real quick and changed it.
Yeah, you do that. There you go. You got all the exclamation marks. I was really excited about changing it.
You can go in and fix my exclamation points now. Add more or less as you decide.
All right. So basically, yeah, and we could apply conditions to these. So we could say like at a certain date time, or you can say at a certain percentage of, random percentile of users to change this out, or you can say, you can actually hook it up to user properties and Google Analytics, which is really cool. So if you tag a user, the user property like prefers wheat bread, I don't know, you can just, you can target wheat bread users, whatever's important to you. So the cool thing about this is that you could technically A/B test this, and you can say like, oh, today we're going to have it be sign in to vote with an exclamation mark. And then someone could argue and be like, I think the exclamation mark is too much and no exclamation mark will convert more users, which I've never been in that meeting, but I imagine that meeting has existed. And then you, instead of having to redeploy your whole site out and invalidate caches and go through a whole CI cycle, just to remove that exclamation mark, you just publish the change in remote config. And you also can roll it out to a certain percentage of users and monitor to see who converts and who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that. I think that is all. I've been trying to keep these underneath 45 minutes. We were going to get into security rules, but I think we might be able to say, oh no, next time. Join us next time where Jeff is going to enlighten our minds on Suspense, and specifically Suspense for data fetching. I'm going to have lots of questions and we're going to have lots of examples. So it's going to be a good one. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. Leave a comment if you want us to cover something. I feel like there's some YouTube things I need to be doing right now, like and subscribe. I don't know. But thanks for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you all next time.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
I always forget to hit end broadcast. Sending.